think it's even okay if you set a goal and you fail to reevaluate, but then don't just give up. Welcome to Life Unleashed,
the podcast all about creating the best life for you and your furry best friend.
If you're a dog mom on the go, juggling life, work, and the endless joys of being a dog parent, then you're in the right place. I'm Dani.
And I'm Nick.
And together with the incredible dog mom community from Tails Up Pup, we're here to share advice, stories, and the obsession we have over the love for our dogs.
Get ready to laugh, learn, and lean on each other because life with your dog just got even more awesome.
It is about to be June, which means we are basically halfway through the year, and we start off the year with all of these goals, and we're so determined to change our life or do new things, and now we're halfway through. So if you sit down and you either read or think about the things that you set out to do, you can say, I'm proud of myself, but a lot of people are like, yeah, I didn't even try to do that. Or I started, but I fell off the bandwagon. And we actually recently saw a thread on Facebook of someone saying, how do you find the motivation to keep showing up specifically was for the gym. But I thought that this was interesting because this is kind of life. And if you think about your goals, if you fell off the bandwagon, how do you make sure you get back on track?
Yeah, it's very easy, I feel like, to get into a slump and be like, oh, well, just this week. And then 1 week turns to 2 and then 3. And it's like, how do you get back on the horse?
So I actually wrote out a response to her and did not submit it.
Dani!
And the reason is because I didn't want to be the first person to write, because I really didn't know her or her intentions. And I didn't want her to feel bad about like her not showing up at all. And so a lot of people ended up writing, and then I wished that I posted mine. But my response was that for me, if I sign up for the week, then I feel obligated to show up. And that is what gets me there, because I don't want to be, I guess it's like kind of like a quitter. Like when you're like, actually, no, like cancel. I definitely would never not show up. Like if I am signed up and I'm like, if I'm supposed to be there, I'm going to be there. But you can just like go on the app and unsign up. I don't want to mentally, that's just not me.
That's a good point. I mean, signing up, I think that definitely is going to help.
Yeah. So that definitely gets me there. And if your gym doesn't do that or that doesn't work for you, you can kind of do your own version of that. Because for me, if something is written in pen, I am not going to not do it. Like there's no scribbling. I'm too type A for that. So I get my calendar out and I write it in pen. I'm
going to gym or doing whatever.
Whatever it is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if it's not for the gym, if you have a different goal, if you're like me, writing it in pen might help you get there.
What really helps me a lot is to have an accountability person. And sometimes that's not always easy to have. So at the gym, if you have the best for me in the gym related would be someone at the gym that is you are both saying we're going to go Monday through Friday and we're going to be there at 6:30, 8 a.m., whatever time, whatever. That really gets me there. That used to get me to the climbing gym. It was we go every day at 4:30 or whatever.
The hardest part about that is if you don't know the person really well, you very quickly start to feel annoying or weird.
Right.
At first you're like, hey girl, are you going to come with me? Or are you showing up today? And after they say no a few times, then you're like, I'm just going to stop messaging them. You know?
Well then you got to be the person to help motivate them. Maybe they need some accountability. Be like, hey, what's going on?
It's hard.
I know that
it's hard to be that person.
Yeah. Well, so that's the best case scenario. I think the next best or whatever is to kind of have more non-verbal accountability. It's you kind of have somebody that you're expecting to see them, and you try to convince yourself in your mind that these people are the people that are there every day, and this is the time that we go and I got to show up for them.
You know what I'm thinking about?
What?
Who your accountability partner is Siri.
Siri?
Because I feel not in the gym, but if you need to do something, you always tell her to remind you.
Yeah, I do. Siri helps me stay accountable. I mean, that would be a good example. It's if I want to go to the gym every morning and I was struggling with that, I'd be like, hey, Siri, remind me tomorrow. But the other thing too is kind of for my writing stuff, kind of along the same lines of signing up ahead of time, I set my alarm the night before. It's I'm getting up at X time, and that's happening. The alarm's already set. If I set it and it goes off, I'm not a snoozer, for instance, that I'll just, and not actually get up.
This actually plays into the question you asked me the other day. Nick's question was, what emotion motivates you the most?
Yes.
And I thought that was a very interesting question.
Yeah, if you're listening, think about that. What emotion motivates you to take action on something?
I didn't really have an answer specifically because I don't feel like I'm that motivated by emotion, but I did say that I was motivated by wanting to be the best version of myself. And so I'm motivated by, and this was specifically thinking about like in a competition, if you were going out to compete, for me, I don't want to end the race thinking I could have went harder.
Yeah, yours is regret.
Yeah, regret. Yeah.
Like you don't want to, you want to be able to look in the mirror and be like, I did the best that I could. I left everything out on the court.
Yeah, because I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't do the best that I could. And I think that has a lot to do with knowing that I don't have control over anyone else. And I am a control freak. So I can control myself, and that's all I can control. I don't know how much my peers, trained. I don't know what their background is. And I, at the end of the day, shouldn't really let that affect me. And so in a competition, even though like I'm not that competitive, and I think that's why that's my thought is I'm like, okay, I'm really competing against myself. And if I can PR against myself, then I would be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I also am the same way for that type of stuff. When the last competition thing I did, I didn't win the whole competition, but like I PR'd and everything, and like Danielle could see my reaction when I finished each thing, whatever, and I saw my time. I was like so hyped or whatever because I was like, you know what? I know that I just went out there and did the best ever I've ever done at this.
But what was your answer to the emotion thing? Because you were different than me.
Well, I think something that can motivate me is like
you are competitive.
I am competitive, and so how did I say it? It was like it really motivates me like when people doubt me. When people doubt me, and that can kind of lead into like, I guess maybe the emotion would be like
pissed off.
Yeah, pissed off, anger, maybe.
Yeah.
Like if somebody tells me I can't do something, that
like, Nick,
really,
you're not gonna win, or like.
I'm the wrong person to say that type of stuff to. That really motivates me to take action and to do that. My parents used to use that against me when I was like growing up. Like they knew that even as a young kid or whatever, like if they said, you probably like something about like can't doing something, like I wanted to immediately show you that I could do it. And so that motivates me. And so the reason that like this question came up is somebody that I follow on Instagram, like, pose that question of like, you need to find whatever emotion it is that like gets you to take action and try to use that to your advantage. Whatever you have to do to like, manipulate yourself to move forward, figure that out. Even if no one's telling you so how would that look for me? Even if no one's actually doubting me in whatever the thing is, like trying to, use that in like, in my own motivation, in my own mind, like, oh, they're thinking you can't do this. That's going to make me, get up and do the extra stuff.
I think for you and I, something we have in common, which actually most people do, is that we are motivated by results. And I think most people are, because if you watch any infomercial, any influencer that are promoting something, they are showing you the result of what you too could have if you follow what they followed. And when you see the result and that's what you want, it's easy to say, okay, I can do that. I'm going to follow their steps. But once you start, a lot of people fall off the bandwagon because it's hard. And really nothing is easy, especially if you're far from it and it's going to take you even longer. You're looking at your neighbor being like, oh, they got there in a month and I'm so far away, when like they were already closer. You should have never compared yourself to them. But I think that Nick and I are motivated by results because we are determined. Like our instinct is very determined. Like we are, and I think that it's probably motivated by doubt. Like if we are doubted, we are determined to keep going and get to that result.
Kind of what you're saying is we're both willing to undergo a lot of like suffering and hardship in order to get the result that we want.
But only if it's something we want deep in our core.
Right.
If it's something you want and I don't want, then
absolutely not. Danielle's like so off board from the very beginning.
Like one time Nick was like, I want to be vegan, and I was like, I don't. And so unless we're gonna cook 2 different meals and live 2 different lives, I don't know how that's gonna work. And at that point I was cooking a lot of the meals, and I was like, I just don't see how realistically, like, what is the actual end goal? And the end goal in that point was to lose weight, and we found a different way to go about it.
One thing, so since like this is kind of like a podcast about motivation and how to do that, one stuff that really helps me, and I think it helps you too, like trying to get to that end result, is like figuring out ways and little milestones to show yourself like sense of progress. And it could literally be whatever milestone you want for whatever the thing is. I really thrive when there's like a sense of progress towards that goal. Even if the goal is going to take me a long time to get, like, I just need to have like little milestones to show that, like, okay, what I'm doing is helping me. For writing what I do, I have a calendar that I printed out for like the next 4 months, and every day I write how many words I wrote. And so like, and I have my goal on there. So like, if I don't hit my goal, I'm seeing that happen. And like, I'm not going to let many days add up where I haven't hit it. And like, particularly if I didn't write and I'm having 0 on there, like just that alone helps keep me accountable for it. Cause I was like, I can't go down there and write a 0 on there. I have to write something on there.
See, you're like me, you write it in pen.
Write it in pen. And I think, say like if you have a weight goal or whatever, like, I weigh myself every morning. And so like that, like the scale is, I'm not going to get into all that. Like the number on the scale is definitely not that important overall. But for me, it's like, I'm trying to track, my progress that way. So I'm tracking my food and I'm tracking, my weight. And so I can see that progress, and I'm really only caring about it every week or so.
So right now, one of our goals as individuals, not a couple, is to work on our, I guess, well-being. So we are counting macros again. This is very new. This is like a few days in, because I know if you follow me on my personal Instagram, I've been saying, breastfeeding is my, most important thing, and I don't want to jeopardize my milk supply, so I'm not dieting. So I'm just now starting to dabble in it, but I'm not trying to eat less.
You just are trying to understand what you are eating.
Yes. And I felt like I was doing mindless eating, and so I want to be more conscious about what I'm eating. And so Nick has also gotten back onto tracking his macros. So we have done this in the past. What was this, like 2 years ago now?
No, remember, I did it recently. I did it like a few months ago.
Okay, but both of us together, we had a huge life change. We decided to count our macros. We both lost like 20 pounds each, and we saw the results. We put in the work. We worked really hard. We were determined, and we saw the results.
Yeah, that's one of those things that was like a great feedback. Like every single day you could see, like, you come up with your goal. You can see, what you're eating. If you actually like do spend the time to weigh everything out and do it exactly right. And every day if you've hit what you wanted to do. And then and we started seeing progress almost right away.
Yeah. So now that we're doing it again, I feel like it's a little bit easier mentally, because we've been here, we've done it, we've succeeded. And so we're like, we know if we put in the work, we've done it before, we can do it again. That's kind of how I feel like we feel. And so the motivation's a little bit different this time because we have done it before.
No, I think that's anytime you're having to do something like for the very first time, like you have no idea what you're doing. You don't know what those feelings are going to be like. You don't know like any of that stuff. And so I think that makes it really hard the first time. But like if you've proven to yourself, I feel like it's like you've proved to yourself, I can do this, and you've done it in the past, it becomes that much easier to jump right back into it. That doesn't mean that it's easy. But I kind of feel like that's anything. You just need to get like a winning streak under your belt. And once you do that one time, like you just have to keep up the momentum. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where motivation and discipline is kind of hard. You're not always going to be when you have your goals and you set them out, say it's January, and like you're super motivated to get it done. You're like, I feel great. I'm going to conquer the world and do whatever goal I've set out to do. That motivation sometimes does go away. And so when that happens, that's really when discipline kicks in. And that's when you need these, like if you're really motivated, I don't need the calendar. I don't need it to be written in pen. I don't need to sign up early. I'm motivated. I'm going, right?
But I feel like for most people, that's only in the beginning.
That's my whole point. So in the beginning, you don't need that stuff. That's when the discipline comes in later, when these little tips and tricks that we're talking about, help you to stay disciplined, to actually go even when you might not want to.
Yeah.
Whether that's writing, the gym, whatever your goal is, you have to figure out what's going to keep you disciplined to do it, because that's really what discipline is. It's doing something when you may not always want to do it. Now, what I found, and that's why the progress is really important, is, even if the motivation's lacking, you start getting these little wins and you're like, and it starts to build back up. You're like, okay, I'm making progress. And even though I wasn't motivated, that's starting to come back again. I just don't think for me, and probably all of us, like, we can't live in this super heightened state of like motivated all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's really hard to like sustain that. And that's why the discipline and these things of like, you know what? Even though I didn't, maybe have the best workout or whatever, I got in the gym. I checked it off.
Another thing that's kind of like an accountability partner, but different, is just even telling someone, because likely, like, okay, first of all, when you put something out into the world, it's speaking it is going to make you more
manifest it, baby.
Yeah. Well, manifesting is even a little different.
It is a little different,
but that person will likely not be your accountability partner, but will talk to you about it again in conversation. So either you're going to be determined because you're going to be like, okay, I told blah, 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 I was going to do this, and now I feel like I need to do it. Or they're going to bring it up and you're going to be like, I really got off the bandwagon, but maybe that will motivate you to get back on later.
I don't know what the statistic exactly is, but it's something very significant that even if you write down your goal on a piece of paper, truly, like, I am going to go to the gym 150 times this year, whatever it is, the people that write down their goals are like something ridiculously more likely to achieve them.
So you have to tape it on the fridge or something, so you see it.
That helps. But like even the first aspect of writing it down, that's one thing in the right direction, because now you've kind of promised yourself by the act of writing it, like, you've put it into the world. So I think if you go like the best way to do it, write it down, put it somewhere visible, and then post it on social media or tell someone about it in some way, make it public. If you do those three things, you are infinitely more likely to do it, because now you've kind of not only promised to yourself in a like outward way, not just saying it in your mind, you've put it out there, and then you say it to other people. Is game changing. It really works.
And I think it's okay. I was thinking like, okay, if you set this goal, you accomplish it. A lot of times people have the now what? And it's finding out, do I keep going, or how do I maintain, or like, what am I changing? And I think it's even okay if you set a goal and you fail to reevaluate, but then don't just give up and say, okay, what do I want to do differently? Like, do I want to, let's say you wanted to go to the gym 100 times in the year and you're like, I'm already really off track. We're halfway through the year now. Don't say that you're totally just not going to achieve anything now.
Yeah, go back to the drawing board, try to come up with a new goal.
Yes, come back with a new goal. Especially now that we're halfway through the year, you can just set a new goal for the remainder of the year. And if you are really going to surpass it, you should do the same thing. Don't be like, yeah, I still want to get 100. If you're going to get 100 in the next month or two, you need a new goal, because what are you going to do when you get there? Then you're just going to be like, I'm done.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to like this idea of like really figuring out a way to fall in love with the process of going after something versus like being super tied to the outcome and result itself. I mean, I know we talked about, you and I are very tied to the results and the outcomes. But in order to get those results and outcomes, you actually have to figure out like, how can you enjoy the process of getting there? Because if you don't enjoy that, then your day to day is going to be miserable trying to do it, because you're going to feel like, I just have to do this and blah, blah, blah. So like, if you can figure out like, and that's why the little progress markers are good, because you're like, oh, I'm moving towards something always. And you can, and always reevaluating your goals and what it is important, because if you achieve them, then you need to come up and move the goalpost. And if you don't achieve them, you still need to reevaluate and figure out, what your new goals are. Mm-hmm. Either way, like you're not just going to give up in either situation.
And I will also say, because I'm thinking about for myself, like all the different goals I had. And I'm like, sometimes it's okay just to enjoy something too. Like for me, the reading and the books, like I don't care how many books I read this year, actually, because it's just something that's so new to me and that I hated so much that in order to enjoy it, I just want to do it and do it when I want to do it and how I want to do it. I don't really need to care about reading 10 books for the year, which I already surpassed. I don't really want to set a new goal in that. Like, I don't need a goal for everything. I can enjoy something and just live my life sometimes.
Well, and this also can get into like burnout a little bit, and the idea of like when sometimes you might need to take a little bit of a break. I think this is for anything that you set out, particularly something that like requires like a lot of consistent effort over time. Like this last week, I've felt really burnt out, like trying to write and make all these like book related content videos and stuff. And I was like, you know what? This week I'm going to take a step back and I'm not really going to worry that much about it. And this is kind of my decompression week. I've written some, but not a lot. And same with like making videos. That is okay, and I'm not beating myself up about it. Now, this is where it can get dangerous, is if that turns from 1 week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. At some point, I think you need to figure out, like, you know, when you're going to get back to it, or reevaluate, is this still my goal? But most of the time, like, that's where the discipline comes in. You still want that goal. I still want the goal of, you know, writing this book. And so if I believe that is what I want, then I have to do the things to make it happen. So I can give myself a week off, but I can't give myself, 6 months off.
Yeah, I think that's hard to remember to come back and not completely abandon.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and this really happened to me like with working out in the past. Is like I can go really hard for months and months and months, and then like if I'm like, I'm tired and I want to take a week off, coming back that next week sometimes is like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it is. It's like momentum is a real thing. And so sometimes like maybe pulling back a little bit versus like totally like, nixing is better. The other thing that I think is very important with all this, and we touch on this in a way but didn't say it this way, is like you do have to have like self-love when this stuff is like for the things that we're talking about, because you can really, and I know this is for me especially, like I can really beat up on myself when like I fall short and I don't do like what I'm supposed to. So I think that can be something that's important. Like you have to, know when to push yourself and, to kick yourself in the butt, but also like know when it's like, what? Falling short one day doesn't need to throw you fully off the rails, and you don't need to beat yourself up about it.
That's hard though. I feel like sometimes we beat ourselves up and then we just go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I feel like it's a balance. It's like, at the same time, you don't want to just like give yourself a free pass and never do anything. Then you're not going to be moving forward. But, it definitely, it can go down the rabbit hole of just like, I suck.
Overall, I feel like it comes down to figuring it out, what motivates you, how you can keep track of what you're trying to accomplish, and figuring out like the tactics that will work best for you, because everyone's personality is different and mindset is different. So learning how you work best and applying some concepts can really help you achieve whatever goal it is. And it's never too late. And just because it's the middle of the year, not the beginning of the year, doesn't mean that you can't set a goal. Maybe you didn't even set anything for the year and you're like, yeah, I'll just wait till 2026. It's like,
don't wait.
You can just start now. Like, why not? You don't need a new year to start something new.
Yeah, I feel like 100% figure out a way to stack the deck in your favor, whatever that means for your personality. It could be different for you than it is for me, than it is for Dani, but try all these different things, figure out what works for you, what motivates you, what keeps you disciplined. And then when you learn these things, continue to put as much stuff as you can to make yourself do the stuff, in place, so that it becomes a no-brainer. It just happens.
We hope that you can set out for something so that you can feel accomplished, because that is the best feeling. And you can start small, and, little milestones will get you somewhere big, and that can feel great.
Yeah, no matter what the goal is, it's all personal to you. And at the end of the day, if you stick to what you said you're going to do, you're going to feel proud of yourself. To me, that is the best feeling. I love, like when I finished that first draft of my book, it was like, I was really proud of myself.
Yeah.
Or, when I did the level up games, I was like, and I was able to PR, I was like, it doesn't matter where I finished and where I placed. I was proud of myself because I PR'd on my stuff, and that's all that mattered.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.